right now. Today is Sunday, the 21st, which means it's a solstice. But this isn't going to be about the solstice. I mean, we might bring it up, I suppose. It's possible. But going live today to connect with Alice, who on Instagram here is Asshole Animals with Alice. Sorry if there's any kids, but that is just the name of her account and her podcast. I've known Alice for a while. She's done a lot of work and continues to do a lot of work for wildlife education, environmental education, animal care, connecting people with wildlife and zoos. She travels a bunch, so I thought it'd be fun to talk to her today for a little bit, catch up with her, see what she's doing, and then also get into why she's doing it. A lot of my passion and excitement for wildlife and the environment and nature is really about making sure we can connect people with that. And Alice does a lot of that as well. So Instagram Live, it's going to do its little volume blip here in a second. She'll jump on the screen and we'll get talking. So I'm very excited. She's connecting all the way from the UK. Hey there, Alice.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Yes, it's going really well. It's so good to see you. Thank you. I know it's like
Oh,
what,
you
5 o'clock in the evening on
too.
your side of the pond. So,
Oh, yeah, it's fine. I've just been wrapping Christmas presents. So, this is a
oh,
lovely little break from stressful wrapping of the Christmas presents.
fair
Thank
enough.
you so
Fair
much for
enough.
having me on. It's been a
Yeah,
while. How you doing?
I am doing well. A lot of changes in life and whatnot on many levels, but it's been fun to kind of recalibrate and get back in touch with people. You and I first met, goodness, it's been a couple of years. You invited me to be on
Yeah.
your podcast, right?
Oh, and you were such a good guest. And you brought an animal to the show that it's still one of my favorite episodes because I love opossums. And
Yeah.
I think, we spoke about opossums who, might rub a few people the wrong way in the States. Obviously, they're native over there. They're not native in the UK, but it's still to this day one of my favorite episodes because you
Oh,
were just such a delight to have on. And I just have such a big, like, space in my heart for opossums. They're incredible.
oh, yeah. I do too. It's funny. I think we mentioned in the episode, one of the very first animals I ever got my hands on when I was in college, being trained to work with wildlife and do wildlife education, animal
Yeah.
care, was an opossum that was nobody wanted anything to do with this giant rat-looking thing. And I was like,
Oh.
oh well, it's something to learn. And then I just fell in love, and I've
Oh
loved them
yeah.
ever since. Baby opossums, adult opossums, everything.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Baby opossums. I think that the internet is sleeping on baby opossums is like a cute thing.
They're the next sloth. I'm
Like,
sure of it. I'm
oh,
sure
they
of it.
are. Yeah, I've got it. Someone has to make this happen.
Yeah.
Like, they are too adorable for the internet not to know about this?
Yeah, they're ridiculous. They're ridiculous. But enough about all of that. I'm so glad we've reconnected. I was always
Yes.
so much fun keeping up with your podcast, and to say it was one of your favorite episodes. You've done so much with
Oh,
so many
it
people,
truly.
but so I appreciate that. But you've been doing so much more too. I wanted to talk to you. You've been doing some travels internationally. That's conservation and wildlife based, and
Yes.
you've done work in zoos. And I don't know. Are you still working in the zoo world, or I'm not sure. I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question I get a lot because yeah, I do have a lot of sort of projects going on, but I am
You
still a
do.
keeper. So yeah, I'm a busy, I like to keep busy. I think,
Obviously, obviously.
yeah, I'm a sucker for a cool project. And so I'm a part-time zookeeper. I work for a small zoo, a free zoo actually. It's one of the UK's, if not the only, UK's only free zoo in London.
Okay.
And so I work for a small collection there part time, but the rest of the week is sort of seeing me do some of my projects and sort of now working with and I'm sure we'll get onto this at some point, the fabulous Matt Lawrence is
Yeah.
a lot of my work now, but also with the Keeper Exchange program. So if you're a
Yes.
zookeeper watching, that's an awesome project coming to you if you're in the States. Clouded Leopards, and also the podcast as well. So yeah, as I said, I do like to keep busy.
Yeah. Obviously, obviously. Yeah, and I think it was funny. I was surprised. It's just the circle of our world in conservation and
Yeah.
wildlife education, all that. It was funny. I got this when I was still working for the San Diego Zoo. I got an email saying, "Hey, would you be available to be on Lawrence Brothers podcast?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure."
Yes.
We do these things all the time as spokespeople, and then and I knew who they were. Obviously, here in the States,
Yes.
they've got a long family history of being on TV and movies and whatnot. But it's not my world. So I
Yeah.
didn't really keep up with it, and I was pleasantly surprised when I did my homework then before going on the show that to find out Matt was so deeply vested in herpetology,
Yeah.
in reptiles, and his passion for wildlife. I was like, okay, cool, like a kindred spirit to go talk
Yeah.
to. And I'm like, wait a minute, Alice's name is attached to him too. What is she doing with that? So it was
Yes.
so funny, the circle to just, it's one of those things where it's kind of a peripheral thing in my mind of something coming up on my calendar to going, wait a minute, these people know
Yeah,
my
I
people.
know that. Yeah. And the funny thing was, on this journey of working with Matt, and, it's very clear 5 minutes into speaking to Matt that how insanely passionate he
Oh
is
yeah,
about
yeah,
reptiles and insanely knowledgeable. Like, this isn't just sort of like a quirky hobby that he sort of has. Like, this
right.
has been a
Which is,
lifelong thing,
yeah,
and it's fine if it was, but, it's so clear that he's so passionate about this, which is why I was like, we have to work together. But in the sort of journey of working a bit closer with Matt and sort of trying to introduce him to people, the first place I went, I was like, you need to go to San Diego Zoo and you need to meet Rick Schwartz. Like, you need to connect. So I'm so happy that that actually worked out, because I was telling him all about all the fabulous people I know at San Diego Zoo, yourself included. And I was like, Rick and Marco have an awesome podcast as well.
yeah,
Like, I'm like, you guys need to connect. Like, you guys bring so much fun and energy, which I think was just perfect for the Lawrence Brothers show. Especially because, Andy and Joey, Matt is the animal crazy guy, right? Like,
right,
he's
right.
super passionate about animals, but, Matt and Andy, yes, to a certain extent, but Joey, it's not really his world, like, right? And so I think to kind
But
of put it that way.
I will say this though. I thought it was cool in the conversation that we had with them during their podcast is that it was clear Joe is kind of on the outskirts of our conversations when we were going to
Yes.
wildlife. But we got to a point where we were talking about how I'm really passionate about connecting people with wildlife. Well, I've always been on the side of
Yeah.
presenting the wildlife, and I get to see everyone's faces. I get to see the kids lean in
Yeah.
and get excited,
Yeah.
even the adults and everything else. And that's where it's always been important for me is that not that I'm here with the animals, look at me. It's I get to watch people get excited about the stuff I'm passionate about. And so
Yeah.
we got the conversation. Joey was saying, oh yeah, my daughter, we go out for walks and, she's always noticing pill bugs. And I'm like, exactly. Kids
Yeah.
innately have that, like, I'm going to stop everything because I see a roly poly. I'm going to stop everything because I see a
Yes.
slug. And then we got into talking about how they walk the same route in their neighborhood. And his daughter
Oh,
noticed that
yeah.
the flower that was there wasn't there this time. And so he's talking to her about how there's cycles and seasons. And so even though it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily his realm, it was still this moment to connect with him about how he's
Yes.
observed his daughter's innate desire to be connected to wildlife and nature. And so
That's
I was like,
it.
yes, we got everybody in the conversation.
Yes, that's it. Like, that's such a lovely moment, and it's such a cool moment to connect on as well. Because,
Yeah,
you're right. It's
exactly.
like everybody, when you're a parent, you are inadvertently sort of teaching your kids about the natural world, right? With
Right.
seasons, with flowers, and things like
Yeah.
that. What animal is that? What bird is that? What sound is that? And that's such a lovely thing for you guys to connect on, even if
Yeah,
you
it was
are sort of
cool.
in different worlds. Like, I really
Yeah,
like
no,
that. That's
it was
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah, I really
Oh,
appreciated that moment. And then later, connecting with them on Instagram, all three of the
yeah.
brothers, I see Andrew post a lot about shelter animals and rescue animals,
Yes.
the
Yes.
domestic side of things, which my heart's there too. I've always, always,
Yeah.
always had shelter animals and rescues. And
Yes.
so it's cool to see people in that side of things that often, I will fully admit, it's not my world. I kind of like, oh, well, they're the entertainment world, whatever. And I don't judge it, but it's not my connection to then
Sure.
see, oh, these people do have their own animal connections as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yes.
like, I need to lean into that more and find those people that maybe aren't in our sphere, but are
Yeah.
people who have a desire to be connected to what we do offer up. So it's
Absolutely.
pretty
And
exciting to have that awakening.
I think a lot of people dogs and cats are the gateway drug, I think, with animals, right?
Yes,
Like
exactly. Exactly.
and I think when you're especially when you're in the sort of public eye and you're in that sort of world that the Lawrence brothers are, I see a lot of people in their industry posting about cats and dogs and how that's really moved them and donating to shelters or volunteering here. And I'm
Right.
like, I love that energy. Like, keep bringing that energy. And if you want to see some other animals too, I'm like, yes to cats and dogs, because we all love cats and dogs. What is it? Like
Yeah.
a third of the US has a cat or a dog, like
Right.
probably
Well, it's a
more than,
billion-dollar
right? So,
industry here in the US. Yeah.
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 And we love cats and dogs and our pets, and I think that's still really important and a really important issue to kind of keep with if you're passionate about it. But I'm like, if
Yeah.
you want to see some other cool things about nature, then
Right.
it's like,
Right.
yeah, you're already sort of some of the way there by being passionate about your pets. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a gateway drug.
So, speaking of gateway drugs and animals that got us
Yeah.
connected to wildlife, I want to find out from you, what was your
Ooh.
start? How did you get into
Mm.
this part of the world of animal care? You do part-time keeper
Yeah.
work, you do the keeper exchange. I mean, you're again, your list of things you do is vast, but what was the starting point for you? What got you
Ooh.
hooked into this world?
I mean, I tell this story, going on podcasts or, little kind of mini t TV interviews or whatever it is. But I, I really love however many keepers I speak to in the industry where they say, like, I've always known I wanted to be a keeper,
Yeah.
and, because I didn't have that experience. I didn't grow up being like, animals is exactly what I want to do. I went to a very posh, private school where the sort of the pressure was if you're not achieving at like a doctor or a lawyer level,
Yeah.
then what are you doing,
What are
sort
you
of
even
thing.
doing
So
here?
what are you doing? What are we doing here? You're paying thousands in tuition, doctor or lawyer is kind of where you want to go. So, I studied something completely unrelated to animals at university. I studied classics. And if you don't know what classics is, it's the study of Greeks and Romans and
Yeah.
their culture, history, language, poetry, literature, everything like that. And it's because I had no effing clue what I wanted to do at 18 years old. Who does, right? And I was like, I love this stuff. I love history. Let's explore that. So, and the reason I got into animals is because I had, in my second year of university, I had so little lectures that I signed up to do. I saw a volunteer fair at the university, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll do some volunteer work. And the local wildlife rehabilitation center needed help, and I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. I like animals, absolutely. And I was hooked, absolutely hooked from day one. The first job they gave me, and sorry for you listeners that may be a little bit squeamish here, but the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, on my day one, first task, they gave me a pair of blunt scissors and they gave me a bowl of dead baby chicks. And they were like, we need you to cut these into tiny little bits to feed the hedgehogs that are being rehabilitated at the moment. And, as I'm sort of like, I've never done this before, obviously, I'm just like, doing my best, trying to like chop into little bits. And I'm like, if I can do this on day one, I was like, I think this is fine. And it snowballed from there. And that was my sort of early 20s. So, I'm a big believer in if about
Yeah.
whether you want to work with animals or not. And I'm almost sort of jealous sometimes because I never really had that sort of same calling that I think a lot of kids did. But I'm also a big advocate for like, changing your career or changing what you want to do, finding a new calling
Right.
somewhere down the road. So yeah, I've given that talk at schools and things. It's like, it's okay to not know what you want to do. You'll find
Yeah.
whatever's meant for you will find you.
Well, I would
So,
say too, your story is a great argument for trying new things.
yeah. Oh,
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
because so for me, I knew I just always loved being around animals, but I didn't know you could
Yes.
do it as a career until I was like in middle
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even then I wasn't 100% sure what was going to happen. But and I tell people this too, it's like, because I do feel I had knowledge in high school at least about where I wanted to go to college and what I wanted to study.
Great.
But for those who don't, I always say, well, that's fine. Take that opportunity
Yeah.
to take electives and do different things, try volunteer at different places. Worst
Yeah.
case scenario, you gain experience and exposure to things, and you can say you did it. And the best case
Yeah.
scenario is also you're like, oh my God, this is what I'm passionate about, which is like what your
That's
story lends into.
yes.
So I
That's
love that.
exactly it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. And it's definitely was a leap from my comfort zone. I didn't have many pets and things growing up, and I was like most kids, I loved animals, but
yeah,
the idea that it was a career was just so bonkers to me because of the sort of pressure that our school was like, you need to be achieving these grades, otherwise you're a failure. You
right.
need to be reaching these high level careers. And so the idea of working with animals, which as you and I know is not a well paid profession,
Nope.
as much as we love it, it's a profession that doesn't make you too much money in your
Right.
time there. So it was a blessing to find it, I think, when I did. But yeah, I'm always a little bit jealous when I'm like, I speak to other keepers, they were like, yep, from when I was 5, I knew I wanted to be a keeper. And I was like, I came to it really late. I'm playing catch up.
Yeah. Well, but you've done so much too with it, and I like how you have taken that passion and excitement, and you've launched your podcast a while. It's been what,
Oh.
4 years, 5 years now? I mean, how?
It's actually three
Oh, three.
years.
Okay, I thought it
Yes.
was longer than
Yeah,
that for
yeah,
some
yeah.
reason.
Oh
But yeah,
no, that's
so
very
yeah,
kind
three
though.
years of great episodes, and then
Yeah.
you've got the Keeper Exchange program you started, which you're
Mhm.
going to be bringing to the U.S. too. I saw you post about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk a
So,
little bit
I
about
mean,
that. What's the Keeper Exchange program?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sort of does what it says on the tin, really. We organize for zookeepers. So this is a program for if you are a zookeeper and have been for at least a year, right? This is a what we call CPD tool, which is a continuing professional development. So it is a tool for zookeepers who are already zookeepers to go and spend a few days, a few weeks at other facilities to sort of,
Hmm.
learn and exchange practices, techniques, ideas, network and meet new
Networking,
keepers.
yeah.
Yeah, which is a big part, I think, of zookeeping as well, which is a skill that, they're not obviously teaching at school, like talking to other people and getting ideas and
Right.
keeping in contact, because, us being all connected is really how we all succeed. So this practice is not a new practice. I do not claim to have invented the idea of keeper exchanges because they have been
Right.
going on for years. But we wanted to make a program whereby any keeper could throw their hat into the ring for an opportunity to do something like this, and it didn't necessarily rely on you knowing someone to do that because back
Hmm.
in the day it was like I'll just ring up my friend and see if I can spend a
Right.
few days or a week with their department at this zoo. But we wanted the opportunity for the more kind of shy or the newer keepers to sort of have a go and just say, like, this is what I would get out of it. I would love to spend a few days here, please let me kind of hang out with you guys for a bit and learn. So we've been running that in the UK for the last 3 years, and we linked up with the awesome team at AZAC, the American Association of Zookeepers, to bring what's going to be called Keep AZAC, which is the American branch of the program.
Hmm.
So I think I'm not going to say too much about that because it's up to them to sort of
Sure, sure.
announce
Yeah.
that. But we're so excited. We've worked like really closely with the team to sort of put together a framework of how it, might operate in the States. Because,
Hmm.
the UK compared to the US, like, in terms of size, in terms of
It's a
how many zoos,
little
it's
bit bigger.
crazy. Yeah, just a smidge, just a smidge. And, in the UK, you're never too far away. Usually things are a, 4 or 5 hour drive or a train maximum in the UK. Not maximum, but, usually you can get
Right.
around pretty quickly. But the States is a whole other thing, how
Yeah.
big your country is. So, yeah, that'll be hopefully launching next year. I'm super excited to see how they get on because, I just love the idea of everybody talking to each other. I'm a big hippie. Just everybody hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. But as much as you do poke fun at that, it is so important though, in the sense
Yeah.
of, and that's one thing we preach quite a bit, at least in my career, 30 years of working with wildlife and people, is that
Yeah.
it's, I can say at the very beginning of my career, it did feel like some people were trying to be the best. And I think, this is
Oh, I
coveted
know.
information and we're the only ones that know
Yeah.
how to do this. But I point to the California Condor program here in the US that
Yeah.
really, for me and my awareness anyhow, seem to kick off that concept that no one organization, facility, or person can do this important work alone, which is, we want
Yeah.
to save species, we want to take care of the earth. And so you said this collaboration of zoos across the West Coast and also the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
governments as well. And then now, Mexico is a big part of it as well. So it shows you that it's got to be collaborative. We got to work
Oh,
together. So
yeah.
this exchange program, I think, is such a wonderful idea. And
Oh,
like I said, you kind of poke fun at the idea of this, kumbaya and holding hands, but there's truth to that, though. There's truth to like everyone just
yeah.
settle down, sit down,
Yes.
and start talking about your successes and
Oh,
failures, so others can learn
absolutely.
as well. So we can all collectively do a better job at what we do.
Absolutely. I think I think it's very easy to lose sight of, why zoos exist
Yeah.
nowadays, right? Which is with the common goal to protect their wild counterparts, whether it's, donating to conservation projects out in the wild or, breeding programs, but we're all working together for the benefit of the animals, right? And, you
Yeah.
know, as you know, with conservation is rarely an issue that's just about animals. You have to look at the
Right.
people first, right? You
Yeah.
have to deal with the people. You have to support the people before, so they can support the animals. And
Yeah.
I feel that's the same way with keepers, right? You have to be nurturing and training and enriching your keepers so that they can do the best job for their animals. So, this was we created the keeper exchange program in a way to to help train the industry a bit better, but also to bring everybody a bit closer together because
Yeah.
I think keepers that get sent by their facility on these placements feel like they're being invested in, feeling like their institution is, desperate for them to learn. It's like, absolutely, we'll send you over here. Yeah, that's
Right.
great. Go and learn from this facility for a few days or a few weeks. So, I'm really all about sort of keeping keepers happy, you know? Like it's all sunshine and rainbows to a point with keepers. You know, we obviously we love our jobs, we love our animals, but it's a tough job as well.
It
Like
is.
it's backbreaking labor in all elements for very little money, and there's a lot of moral injury in zookeeping. There's a lot of compassion fatigue in
Yep.
zookeeping, and I think a way to sort of what's that phrase? A rest is as good as a change is as good as a rest. So if you
Yes,
spend a few
yes.
days seeing how things are done at another facility, I think it can give you a sort of a breath of fresh air, and hopefully be invigorated enough to bring some ideas or techniques back to your zoo, or just get out of your zoo for a little bit and see how else it operates. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And so then that's a great segue into getting out and seeing other things. You have been
Yeah,
doing a lot of travel internationally, a
sure.
lot of it connected to what you mentioned, taking care of and looking at supporting communities where there's
Yes.
wildlife in their life and also exploring things. Talk to me about that. What is this just a natural travel bug you have, or is there other things that you're looking at
Oh,
this going, no, this needs to be done?
it's a bit of both. I think, I always love the idea of just of seeing as many countries and perspectives and cultures as I can before I die. I think to me, the idea of staying in one spot and not moving from your spot is a terrifying idea. I need to get out and see what other people are doing and sort of see how I could help as well. So, I mean, this time last year, I was in speaking at a conference in Nepal on behalf of the Clouded Leopard Working Group, who are an incredible charity based out in Kathmandu that are protecting not only the clouded leopard but the Asiatic golden cat and the marbled cat,
Mm,
two very unknown small
yeah.
wildcat species that we have. And it was a meeting of incredible minds that are dedicated to small wildcat conservation in Southeast Asia, and we met so many people from Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Incredible conservationists that are doing on the ground work, and that sort of really lit a fire under me at the beginning of this year. I was just like, we have to work harder for clouded leopards, and have been sort of doing that in my spare time along with 1,000 other things. But more recently, yes. So Madagascar, with the fabulous Matt and the fabulous Whitnalls, who you also know as
Yes, I do
well.
know those boys
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, they're great guys. And it was so funny too because it was right on the heels of me meeting Matt and being on the
Yes.
program with his brothers. Then all of a sudden I see you guys all collectively posting together on Instagram. I'm like, wait a minute, Matt's with the
Yeah.
Whitnals? Oh man.
Yeah,
It's like
I
if
know.
I probably had the most FOMO right there
Yes.
that I ever
We'll
have in
get
my
you on the
life
next trip. We're
because
gonna
I
get you
see
on the next
everybody
trip.
collectively together and I'm like, oh, I know all of them and they're going to Madagascar.
Yes. Have you been? Have you been to
No,
Madagascar?
it has been on my
Oh,
list. It has been on my list for a very long time. When I very
yeah.
first, goodness, I think I was in college and I learned about, so sidebar for everybody. Lemurs and Fusa are very interesting. My
Yes.
my very first species I was hands-on with was when I was a intern right out of high
Oh,
school at the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle. I was put on the
yes.
primate string and they had an island of lemurs and they're like, here's the food, go out and feed them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm out of high school. I've never worked with exotics
Yeah.
before. So I'm like, okay, I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
trust. And that was the first exotic species. I mean, they're jumping on my shoulders and hanging out with me and hand
Oh, I
feeding them. And I
love.
just, so ring-tailed lemurs were my first, like, oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh, for real?
Yeah.
And so then I started getting into Madagascar at that point. And then I learned about the
Yeah.
Fusa in college or Fasa, however you want to say
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I will never probably see one in person. They're
Hmm.
they're such so rare and so crazy amazing, and they don't really fit anywhere in the carnivore world with so
Yeah.
many different unique things. And you fast forward to my career at San Diego Zoo, I ended up helping hand raise one that became an ambassador. We
Oh.
worked on him in public on leash as an ambassador animal for most
Oh
all of
my.
his life. And just so yes,
Yeah.
Madagascar, long story short, have always wanted to
Oh
go.
my God.
Have been to a lot of places, but not there yet. But it will happen. It will
I'm
happen.
sure. I mean, next year we're going. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Well,
Just put it
send me
in
the
the
dates.
diary. Yeah,
Send me the
exactly. We'll
dates.
be, my people will reach out to your people. We'll figure this out.
I am my people, but okay.
Yeah, same. So yeah, we'll figure it out. But that's so cool. I think, yeah, San Diego, that's got to be the only FUSA ambassador animal, right? Like I've
So
never
at the
heard of that
time,
anywhere else.
yes. At the time, yes.
Yeah.
Because we reached out to a bunch of zoos that did have them, and because they're strictly breeding program. The reason he was
Yeah.
became an ambassador animal was because he had so many genetic issues. They didn't want to put him back in the breeding program, and
Yeah.
his mom didn't raise him and his siblings. His siblings had genetic issues also. They ended up passing away,
Mm.
and so they're like, we don't want that. We don't want these genes back in the very limited gene pool we
Yes.
have in the zoo world. So they're like, he's not going to become a breeder. And at that point,
Mm.
because he was already in the nursery being worked with, we're like, well, can we see if we can do this? And we reached
Yeah.
out to tons of zoos that everyone we knew that had one. And they're like, no, we've never hand raised one.
Yes.
We've never, had one as an ambassador. So we kind of wrote the book on that for
Yeah.
ourselves. Not saying we wrote the book so much as we just kind of, it was walking into the dark without a flashlight and
Oh
seeing what
yeah.
happened. And, it was interesting having worked with animals in that environment, in that space, and carnivores and herbivores, knowing everybody's different on what a reinforcer is and what can motivate them and how you build a relationship with them. It was
Mm.
really fascinating to learn that species language. As you know, as a
Yes.
keeper and anybody who's worked with
Yeah.
different species, every species has their own language that you need to learn. What ears up on one species mean doesn't mean the same thing for another species. What a
Yes.
tail flick means, or tail, hunchback, any of that. So it was
Yeah.
fascinating to learn. And they do have a very unique language. They're a very unique species. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was, I think since then, I believe there's been a zoo in Florida that has had a couple
Oh,
ambassadors, but
great.
I don't quote me on that. I'm saying I
Sure.
think, but I
Sure.
don't know for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
again, this was back for 2000 and so 2007, I think is when he was born. So it was a while ago.
Wow.
Yeah, he's no longer with us,
Yeah.
of course, but
Of course.
I want
Yeah.
to say it was 2007, I think is when he was born. Yeah.
I'm just like that. I'm hearing that the Fusa is an ambassador animal. I'm like, I've worked with a couple of Fusa over the years. They're just incredible
Yeah.
animals. They're
Very
so cool.
strong, very
Oh
fast,
yeah.
very smart, very,
Oh
very
yes.
smart.
That's it. Like our male used to, and you get this with cats as well, but he used to just follow me around the side of the enclosure, doing his little stalky stuff every
Yeah.
single time. And he's trying to be all sly, and then I get right to the door, and I'm like, ha! I can see you.
Surprise.
Yes, you think you got me, but yeah. So incredible animals, and I was like, good for you guys for doing an ambassador program with them. Like
Yeah.
I've got to say, I've like never heard of that. So
Yeah.
that
I'll
is
send you
awesome.
some
That's
pictures. Yeah. He was pretty
Please
cool. Yeah.
do. Please do.
But I
Yeah,
want
I
to get
love
back to
that.
your story. I want to get back to
Oh
your
yeah.
story. So you went to Madagascar. You went with a group of people who are all very passionate
Yes.
about wildlife, about conservation. What was the goal? What did you do? And why are we going back?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So first of all, earlier on in the year, Aaron Whitnell and I from the amazing Hertfordshire Zoo. If you haven't heard of the Hertfordshire Zoo, why not, guys? It's an incredible zoo. It's out in the UK. They're absolutely amazing. But Aaron Whitnell, who's one of the brothers that helped run the zoo, his family owned the zoo. Him and I are good friends, and he mentioned casually earlier this year, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go to Madagascar. We're gonna meet some of our conservation partners out there. The incredible Seed Madagascar, which is based in southeast Madagascar. And I was like, yeah, oh, great, good for you. And he was like, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll just shell out, nearly $2,000 for a trip. I was like, as a poor zookeeper, I was like, yeah, in my dreams, right? Yeah, I'd love to find some money from somewhere. And that was earlier on in the year. And then when I started working with Matt, Matt was like, I've always wanted to go to Madagascar. It's, forgive me, I'm going to probably misquote the amount, but it's something crazy like 90% of the world's chameleons are on Madagascar. It's a very,
Yeah,
very
it's a very
high
high. Yeah, yeah.
percentage. If it's not 90, it's around that number. So he was like, Matt is passionate about chameleons. Chameleons and iguanas are his two big, like, passionate loves. And so he was like, I've always wanted to go to Madagascar. And I was like, well, actually, I know some people that are going. And I sort of I reached out to one of the team members called Kim. Shout out to Kim. She's awesome. She's one of the keepers at Hertfordshire Zoo. She's so passionate about Madagascar. She's been a bunch of different times over the last 15 years. Madagascar is like her second home. She has a
Nice.
tattooed sleeve of all Malagasy animals. Absolutely awesome. And I reached out to Kim and I said, what does going on this trip look like? Like, can we join? Like, we sort of essentially piggybacked on their trip, which was, they were going to meet Seed Madagascar, who, incredible community-driven project in the southeast, as I said, of Madagascar, who they have a little research center, and would be contributing by helping with reptile surveys and lemur surveys. They have a species of Phelsuma gecko that's native just to that forest where they're
Wow.
based. And a lot of the problems which people may or may not know about Madagascar is the mining companies coming through. And they have
Yeah.
a potential mining company drawing closer and closer to where this research station is in St. Lucia. And if they can prove that this Phelsuma gecko is, here and only here, then it, staves off the mining companies for a little bit longer. They just need as many eyes as possible to get a tally of what exists in that area. So that's sort of what that we were going to do. And I said the words reptile and survey to Matt, and he was like, oh my God, say less.
I'll go get my passport. I'll be right back.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like on the site booking the tickets. Like he was so keen to go. And what better people to go with than people who are already, like big players in the UK sort of zoo world and very passionate about what they do and, give a lot to conservation. And so it felt like the perfect mashup. I was like, we're going with a great team of people. You're really going to love them. They're a family, and some of the keepers from the zoo, and all in all, it was just such a lovely trip. It was a really lovely opportunity to see Matt in his element, like loving the reptiles, not even just the chameleons. We saw obviously the geckos and frogs, snakes. And he just had such a great time with it. We were sponsored by an awesome company called Josh's Frogs, who are, if you are in the reptile world, they sell sort of, reptile products, right? So substrates and foods that if you are a captive reptile, if you're a hobbyist and collect reptiles. So they sponsored us to go out and to sort of see Madagascar and, encounter all these incredible animals that are only endemic to that island. So, trip of a lifetime. I will say though, the anti-malaria tablets did mess with me massively.
They do. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Even you have to take it like a week after you come back.
Yeah.
And have you done this before? The anti-malaria tablets?
They were bad enough when I was in Botswana. Near the end of the trip, it seemed to build up in my system enough that I started getting really having some challenges with it. So I just stopped. I was like, you know what? I'm not getting bit by mosquitoes right now, and I'm getting myself covered with the bug spray. I'm going to roll the dice and just stop taking it because it was getting bad to the point where it's like you don't feel like you're able to do what you're there to do. It's like, okay, well, why? I mean, so you roll the dice.
Like, at this point, give me malaria. You're like, I'll take malaria.
So it's familiar.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It got to the point, guys, I'm going to be real. It got to the point where I was sleepwalking at night because I was hallucinating things, and it's sort of one of and we were on the mildest, the better of the drugs, which is Malarone. But it was really messing with my system and my sleep. And I was like, that's the only downside to the trip. I was like, taking the anti-malarials was the worst thing. But that if you haven't been to that country, if you want to go to Madagascar, if you're curious what it's about, please do go. The people are lovely. The food is great. There's nothing on that island that can kill you as well. There's no venomous snakes or crazy big predators. So if you're looking for a trip of a lifetime, Madagascar can recommend. Just love.
So you mentioned Seed Madagascar. What exactly does Seed Madagascar do? You're saying you're over there supporting that too. So are they strictly just wildlife stuff? Or if I remember correctly, when you were going, you were saying that they also have a program where you help fund basically feeding the community as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they're community driven. So it's multi-pronged approach, as I think a lot of great conservation projects are. And as we said, they focus on building up the communities rather than just focusing on the wildlife. So they'll build schools, they'll provide meals and education. They'll do sort of reforestation projects and linking corridors and things like that. Wildlife surveys is also a part of what they do too, and they have an incredible team that's sort of in their research station. They are truly, and it's sad only that they operate in the southeast of Madagascar. I'd love them to be operating on the whole scale, because that island is huge. It's the fourth largest island in the world. So they operate just in the southeast, but they are absolutely awesome. The team sort of welcomed us with open arms and showed us all about what they do. And, it was so difficult not to be moved, hearing people's stories and sort of listening to how Seed has impacted them in a positive way. And, money goes a long way in Madagascar. Money that you and I think is trivial, a couple of bucks, £5, whatever it is, goes a long way in Madagascar. So, we gave as much as we could on the trip. It was really, really clear that the money that we could bring to sort of support the communities was really going to be very impactful. So they had a sort of an end of year push recently, they're sort of on the back of what is it, Black Friday? It's a Giving Tuesday. You
Right,
know,
right,
they had
yes.
a,
Uh-huh. Yep,
you know,
Giving
with all the
Tuesday,
sort
yeah.
of charities. Yeah, they had their big
Yeah.
push at the end of the year. And they raised 100 grand, which is absolutely incredible.
Wow, good for
And
them.
yeah, they honestly, that is going to go and help so many people and you know, through that, so many animals out in
Yeah.
Madagascar. So, and Matt was a sort of a part with that as well. Matt, if you don't know, is back on, do you guys know Cameo? You know,
Yeah,
the
yes.
site?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, where you get celebrities to like do shout outs and stuff for you. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt is now back on Cameo with all of the money that anybody pays to get him, you know, saying a video saying, "Oh, hey, Diane, happy birthday," or you know,
Right.
whatever it is, goes directly to Seed, which is awesome. So he's doing it all for sort of for them because he's now their US ambassador for. He
Nice.
fell in love with Seed so much. He fell in love with Madagascar so much that he was like, "How can I continue supporting you guys
Yeah.
after this incredible trip?" So he's working a lot closer with them. Him and I will be sort of linking up to see how best we can get some, you know, fundraising campaigns together for 2026. But, you know, he came out of it so inspired and just, yeah, and it's beautiful as well because, you know, we brought this Hollywood celebrity to a camp, you know, and, you know, Matt's telling everybody crazy stories about his childhood with Robin
Wow.
Williams and all sorts
Right,
of
right.
things around the fire. And they're like, you know, who brought this like actor here? But
Right.
his reptile knowledge is insane. You know, he's so passionate about it. It's like he blew everybody out of the water
Yeah.
because, you know, you think celebrity and sometimes you don't conjure the most sort of environmentally friendly image or, you know,
Well, and
someone
that's,
who's down to earth.
exactly. And I will say this
Yeah.
too. I will say this in my career where I spent a lot of time traveling, representing the organization, going on TV shows in New York and Los Angeles. These are the
Yes.
same shows then that have celebrities on. So you meet all sorts
Yeah.
of people all the time backstage. And for the most part, honestly, everyone's like, "Oh, cute animal. Oh, I love it. Can I
Yeah.
see it? Can I get a picture?" And like, "Oh, that's great. Oh, we love him so much." And that's usually as far as it goes. Then
Yes. Yeah. That's where it ends.
every now and then, you get somebody who's like, "Oh, no, thanks. I don't like animals."
Wow. Yeah.
And then the other side of the spectrum, every now and then, very rarely, you get someone who's like, "Oh," and then all of a sudden they go into this deep conversation about animals, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're for
You're the
real.
real deal.
So
Yeah.
and the ones that come to mind, of course, is the wonderful and just amazing Saint Betty White. When I
Oh,
got to
yeah.
work with her for 2 days,
Oh, oh my God.
she talked like a zookeeper. She
Oh,
knew the LA Zoo inside and out because that's what she's like. If I wasn't an actress, I would have been a zookeeper. And
yeah.
she did so much work with the local humane society, and she knew a
Yes.
lot of the animals at the San Diego Zoo because we exchanged animals with the LA Zoo. So she's like, "Oh, I
Yes.
remember when such and such came, and we used to all this and this one's actually and the father of this one is." I
Oh,
was like, so
oh,
she was one of those people, and then
yeah.
oh, I'm blanking on her name. Oh, I can see her face. I met someone
What's she been
backstage
in?
in New York. She was on Grey's Anatomy for a long time.
Oh, the blonde actress
Yes,
from,
yes.
oh God.
Oh, I can't remember her name.
No, no, uh,
Either way,
no.
she
Yes.
was
Meredith
she
Grey is
was
the name, right? Like,
but no, but it was the
yeah.
I'll have to look it up later. Now it's gonna
No, it's
bother
all
me.
good. It's all good.
But we were there and she just
Oh,
knew
Katherine
she
Heigl, is that right?
yes, Katherine Heigl. Oh, Jenny,
Ah,
thank you,
nice to meet
Jenny.
you, Jenny. Yes.
Yes, Catherine, because Jenny was there.
Legend.
Jenny was a PR rep I was working with at the zoo at the time.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she and her kids loved animals, go to the zoos all the time in their
Interesting.
hometown, and so we got to talking, and it was just one of those people where you're like, oh, okay, you get it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not uncommon that I would come across people that were okay. You're an animal person at heart. You happen to be doing
Yes.
acting, and so when I went up to LA and did the Lawrence Brothers show, as soon as
Yeah.
Matt opened the door, first thing out of his mouth was talking about his reptiles that he has and his
Yeah.
trip to Madagascar. And oh my gosh, have you been
Yeah.
to? Oh, have you seen? I was like, okay, so
Yeah.
you're one of us. I get it. I get it. But
Yes.
it is funny because you do, I think, just in general, celebrities, because it's their job to be a celebrity. That's not just
Yeah.
who they are, but it's their job to
Yeah,
put up
yeah.
that persona and promote their shows and be that likable character to sell their shows. So I think it's hard for us sometimes to make that leap. But yeah, Matt is definitely one of those folks where you're like, okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes, you're one of
It,
us. You just happen to do this for a living. But
That's it. And
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
any story he tells as well is always like the most off the, he's not saying it to impress anybody. He's saying it, he's like, Oh yeah, I know Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, him and I, went way back. We were both child, and and you're like, what? Like he just drops it so casually. He's like,
Right,
oh yeah,
right.
I
But
know
that's
this
his world,
person.
though. That's exactly. It's just
Um,
like in
yes,
our zoo world. We know
yes,
people who run zoos and who do
that's
conservation and
it. That's it.
who all this stuff. So yeah, it's
So
funny how
that's
that
it. Yeah,
works.
and just the most humble, laid back guy that's just crazy about animals. And those are the kind of people that you want in your life,
Yeah, absolutely,
Like,
absolutely. And
yeah,
it's the
they
kind
have
of
to be
people too
animal
we want to
lovers.
empower. We want to empower everybody to be
Yes.
connected to wildlife, and if you've got a voice to help share that information, so it's great that he's the American ambassador for Seed Madagascar.
Oh, yeah. I think he's
That's
gonna
just
love
that's
it.
wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, although I think we could probably talk for another 6 or 7
I
hours.
know. We need to catch
I
up.
we do actually, we do. But before we wrap this up, for everybody who's
Yes.
joining us and coming and going and who's watching this later, it's
Hmm.
one of my favorite things is we in our world often get asked, "What's your favorite animal?" But
Oh
I
yeah.
want to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
What animal of all the ones you've worked with or been around has given you the most sort of like, "Whoa, I didn't know that," or aha moment, or that surprise shift in your perspective about
Mm.
the species, or you fell in love with when you didn't think you would, any of that, like something, not just your favorite, but like
Yeah.
one of those moments that we get to have living our life with animals.
That is such a good question. And I think, I would say I'm a mammal girly, by heart. And, no disrespect to any other taxa, but I'm, in my heart, I just love a
Sure.
mammal. So I think for me, and they've turned into one of my favorites now, toucans, definitely.
Oh,
Like, yeah. And I always have toucans are kind of like my good luck charm. I find them, I mean, actually, you can see in the background here, there's a
right. There
picture
you
of a
go.
toucan here. I'm currently wearing a toucan necklace as well. But, toucans for me, I had no clue until I met and started working with one how cool they are. I looked at that bird and it's almost like, I don't know if you believe in love at first sight, Rick. I don't know if you believe in that concept, but
With
looking at
animals, yes.
with animals, yes. Humans, nah, forget about
Humans,
it. Animals. But yeah, it was a complete light bulb moment when as soon as I started working with he was a small red-billed toucan at one of my zoos, one of the first zoos I started working at. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I need to learn everything about this animal. And before that, I'd never even thought of a toucan. I don't.
Mhm.
I was like, whatever. But as
It's
soon
a
as I
bird,
started working with
whatever.
them, yeah, whatever. It's a bird. It's got a big bill, whatever. So yeah, as soon as I started working, I was like obsessed. And I've carried that with me. They definitely are, as I said, my good luck charm. And I'm so I think one of the only animals, I mean, you see certain animals and you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Look at this, or it's so cute, or I just love it so much. And toucans for me are on a little bit of a next level now where I'm just like, I see it and I'm like, that's the best bird. Like, I'm like, it's a
Just
fact. That's
done.
the
It's
best
just
one.
done here.
Yeah, exactly. I will die on this hill. Like,
Okay, so
um,
give me a fun toucan fact that you like to share with people.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize how smart and how curious they are.
Okay.
I think which is one of the fun things I learned about working with them is that, they obviously you can say something cool about the big old bill being made of keratin and everything like that. But I think in terms of behavior, which is what I love as a zookeeper, the animal behavior side of things, and that's why Arsehole Animals is a whole podcast because I love talking about animal behavior. But I think a lot of people don't realize just, how smart they are in terms of figuring out puzzles. I wouldn't say kind of macaw level smart, but they are smarter than people kind of think. And also
Yeah.
how curious they will investigate everything. They have, depending on the species as well, keel-billed toucans are a little bit more, can I say the word bastard on this? Can I
I
drop?
don't. It's
It's done.
Instagram. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. It just gets censored. They can be a little bit bastardy, but they're just beautiful birds. They're a little bit more aggressive, I should say. But
Mm.
they're just intensely curious about the world around them and what you're doing and what you're wearing and things like that. And I think that's sort of what drew me to them. And I also love the big bill when they look at you. They kind of have to turn to the side a little bit to look as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the sort of like that.
And then it
And I
always
just
feels like when a toucan does it, like a little bit of a judgment. Like, okay, so
yes,
maybe
a
I could
side eye.
like just a
Oh,
little.
it's a side eye. The judgy bill,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
so here for it. So yeah, that's what I love about them, and I love. I used to play with a taco I used to work with years ago. I used to play like catch the blueberry. They're just very good
Hmm.
at. They've got good
Oh, they're
sort of.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, they got very good. What's the word I'm looking for? Like
Well, I
depth
think for
perception or
yeah, it was just
spatial
the
awareness.
Well, when I worked with toucans, we used to joke, humans have the hand-eye coordination, they have the bill-eye coordination.
Yes,
That
yes,
doesn't seem to matter
absolutely.
how well you toss it. If it's in the general vicinity, they're going to grab it just
Yeah,
perfectly and kick it back. And
exactly. I'm so glad
yeah.
that's your experience too, because I
Oh,
was like,
absolutely. Yeah,
maybe
I
that was
think.
just something that I
Well,
saw.
I've worked with toucans at two different facilities, and their behavior, their mindset, their intelligence, the curiosity
Yeah,
you're mentioning, absolutely, it seems to
yes.
be on par with the species. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing that we've got Brock just at the bottom joining us. Dexterity is absolutely the word I would
Yeah.
use.
There you
Bill
go. Yes.
Dexterity, who's a big fan of toucans, possibly the biggest fan of toucans, Toucan TV. So yeah, they're just incredible. I think, and I didn't have that sort of passion for them as a
Mm,
kid or anything like that until I started working with them. You kind of don't really realize it. And that's a really
yeah.
lovely question as well. What animal took you kind of most by surprise? I think that's a lovely question to ask someone. So yeah,
Well,
thanks for that question.
because my pleasure. I've fallen into the trope of asking people, "Tell me your favorite animal," and I get that question
Yes,
all the
yeah.
time as well. And there's a reason something's your favorite, but
Mm,
sometimes it is because, well, I saw a documentary when I was in fourth grade and fell in love with how
sure.
fast a cheetah is. But the other side of it, those of us who spent our lives working with wildlife, sometimes there's a really cool nugget in there where it's like, well, I actually fell in love with this species. It's not my favorite, but I really
Yeah.
admire. And so it's
Yes.
kind of the same thing. Like I had never worked with pygmy falcons, African pygmy falcons before, and there was one that
Oh,
was hatched in the zoo and hand raised, and then came to our department, and she just took to me, and we were besties.
oh,
And I mean, and I never ever would have said, African pygmy falcons, they're going to steal my heart. But oh my
yeah.
gosh, now it's like I see one
Yeah.
or hear their call, and I'm like, I melt. So
Yes, I love that. Yeah,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
what I'd add to that list as well, we're coming full circle in this conversation. It's actually opossums as
Oh
well are on
yeah,
my list. But
yeah, yeah.
here we are back at the start. Opossum. I mean, I had the wonderful opportunity when I lived in Costa Rica to hand rear six black-eared opossums from babies that were orphaned. So, I really got to know, waking up in the middle of the night to feed them, everything like that on a very limited sort of budget and very limited resources out in the sort of the jungle. And I think something like that really bonds you to an animal, and just,
Yeah.
seeing them grow and seeing
Yeah. Oh,
them, they're
absolutely.
oh my God, anything, I think anything you get the chance to hand rear has a
Yeah.
special place in your heart, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like nothing else. They are, for that period of time, you're sort of children almost. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think yeah,
opossums.
absolutely. You have that. I think that paternal, maternal instinct kicks in. Where it's
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
this is a living creature that's depending upon me to survive and thrive. And I think
Yeah.
that creates a bond. I think it creates a certain
Yeah.
bond that is just unique in that moment with that individual. But then it becomes, I think, also. I know for me, I tend to transpose that then onto the species in general. Like, well, I had this moment. That's
Yeah.
that's why binturongs are my favorite.
Yeah.
I had this great
Oh, yeah.
relationship with a binturong, and now every
Oh,
binturong I see, I'm like, you are my best friend.
yes,
So,
exactly. I instantly like you.
yeah, I don't care if you're a jerk. You're my best friend. I love you.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Oh, that's so cute. Binturongs are great, by the way.
yeah,
Great choice. Like,
I didn't
fascinating
choose
animals.
binturongs. Binturongs chose me.
Yes, love
It
that.
was yeah. I mean, and,
Love
and I
that.
have no regrets that I was chosen. So,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that. That's so cute. Oh, Rick.
Well, I want to thank you so much. I think we could probably come
Oh,
back to another discussion sometime in the future. But
absolutely.
we're obviously heading into the holidays and the new year, so we'll maybe catch that up in January. But thank you
Would
so
love to.
much for taking the time to connect and
Oh,
doing this with me. I'm loving these conversations that I've been having since me getting
yes.
back into doing these Instagram lives, and loving
Yes.
your podcast and everything you're doing with
I
that.
appreciate it.
So, aside from here on Instagram, is there anywhere you'd like to drive people, anybody watching right now, where you want to tell them to show up to
Hmm.
find out more information about you or the work you're doing before we wrap up?
I would say if you're a zookeeper listening at the minute, then and you are a little bit interested in seeing what another facility is doing, then the Keeper Exchange program, I'll always shout that out. As I said, coming soon to America, coming soon to the rest of the world, actually. We've got some big plans for 2026.
Nice.
But
Perfect.
yeah, so the Keeper Exchange program, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook, under Keeper Educational Exchange Program, which is what KEEP stands for. Clouded Leopard Working Group. If you love cloudies, cloudies are, I think, yeah,
There's
the
another
best. If I
one,
said
yeah.
toucans are the best bird, cloudies are the best cat. Like,
Yeah.
hands down. So if you love cloudies, the Clouded Leopard Working Group are always looking for new support, and they're an incredible charity, as I said, based in Kathmandu. So definitely head to their website, cloudedleopardpartners.org, or find them on Facebook or Instagram too. Who else do I want to shout out? Seed Madagascar. If you
Hmm.
love lemurs, if you love helping the community, they're incredible. Check them out as well. Yeah, same thing. Instagram, Facebook is just Seed. You know how you would spell it, SEED. Madagascar, awesome charity. Those are the
Nice.
people I'd say to shout out.
Nice. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a good
Oh,
holiday
thanks,
season and New
Rick.
Year, by the way.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New
Yes, thank
Year. Thank
you.
you so much for having
Yes,
me on, Rick. It's been lovely to
you are
catch up.
welcome. All right. Take care
I'll
and say
speak to
hi
you
to the
soon.
brothers
Bye,
for me too.
guys. I will do. You take it
All
easy,
right.
Rick.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, again, for those of you who joined the live, thank you so much. I saw a lot of people popping in and out, both people I know and Alice knows. Great conversation. It did go much longer than planned, but sometimes that's what a good conversation does. I think this might be the last live for the year. I'm going to jump into some holiday stuff and some travel, but we'll see. We'll pick it back up in January. We might have another one pop in between the holidays. We'll see. But either way, thank you all so much for joining us. If you're watching this afterwards as well, do check out the things Alice promoted and talked about. The work she and her cohorts and the people she interacts with is doing is very important. And I'm very excited and proud to be able to have her and everybody else who's been on my Instagram lives this month sharing their passion and what they're doing. And maybe, hopefully, as you watch, you find something you're passionate and connect to as well and can support nature and wildlife and conservation. And honestly, when we do that, we support ourselves as well, not only because it feels good to us to do that work, but we as humans do rely on a healthy planet so we can continue to enjoy our lives as well. All right, so with that, I wish you all a happy holiday season. Today's winter solstice too, so happy solstice. And we'll see you, if not before the new year, then definitely in the new year. Take care, everybody.